Hello everyone, how are we all doing? My name is Trevon from Free Studio Time, and if you don't know who I am, I help beginner audio engineers and recording artists turn their mixes into gold. Today, I'm going to be going a little bit over FL Studio and explaining the ins and outs of using FL Studio to really see if it's something that you should invest your money into if you're interested in one, just beginning to start off your audio engineering or music producing journey, or if you're interested in switching from a specific DAW to another one. So let's get straight into it. So FL Studio, I've been using FL Studio for close to around 2 years now. And before I started using FL Studio, I was using Reaper. So FL Studio from Reaper, that's a pretty large jump as far as digital audio workstation general quality. As far as stock VSTs inside Reaper, there is a lot of low quality stock VSTs inside of Reaper. But I was also using the free version as well. So yeah, I paid like around $200 for the music producer pack in FL Studio, and it came with a bunch of different plugins. Over here, let me go over here to so give or take a few, these are all the VSTs that come inside FL Studio. So when switching over to any new DAW, it's like learning a new language. There's a bunch of different things that you need to learn in order to get like the basic steps of the mixing, mastering process down. For some, that process will be a bit easier and fast, and for some it'll just be a bit slower. I say the hardest part about using FL Studio was really channel routing and things of that nature. Before, I used to put all of my vocals on one channel and I put my beat on another channel, and I used to mix all of my vocals from that one channel. But the issue with doing that was there's a lot of things I was missing. I wasn't able to have the control that I wanted over the mix. But the thing about doing that is since I was mixing from such a broad perspective, I didn't have the opportunity to fine-tune a lot of minuscule things that were going wrong with the mix. Now what I do is place each individual audio track inside its own insert, and then I route each of those inserts to the vocal bus. Now I can mix all of my vocals from this one track right here. But learning how to properly do channel placement and just creating a vocal bus was one of the hardest parts for me. After that, things started to come a little bit easier. Not saying that things were easy, but the next hardest part for me was honestly just like figuring out another really hard part about using FL Studio first for me was deleting unused audio tracks. So say I was working on a song for about a week or something like that, and I recorded a lot of takes that I didn't use. The amount of unused audio tracks I would have over here would be absolutely insane. And what I used to do before was go to each individual audio track and delete every single one of them. And sometimes this process alone could take about 20 minutes to do. And honestly, by the time you do all of that, you don't even feel like mixing the song. You would just rather mix the song tomorrow, especially when you consider the stuff that you have to do for channel placement in the vocal bus. And on top of that, just getting your mix levels right before you even begin to throw any VSTs on there. And then I realized, but instead of doing that now, what I realized was I could come over here to tools, macros, purge unused audio clips, and it will literally delete all the unused audio clips that you're not using, which saves you a bunch of time. Like, I can't believe I was still doing that stupid mistake the whole entire time. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some of the main let's talk a little bit about some of the main reasons why some people like to buy FL Studio, and that's because the VSTs, they have a pretty good set of VSTs for you to use. One of the main VSTs that I use as far as for the basic ones, definitely for 3D parametric EQ. A lot of people enjoy using 3D parametric EQ just because it has a pretty simple layout right here. Everything's colored out, and they show you where you can adjust the bandwidth and things of that nature over here. It's really nice. They also have an EQ cheat sheet up here, which is really helpful for beginners that don't really know what frequencies cause certain sounds. Second plugin I used to use a lot is 3D compressor. You always need that compressor on here. This compressor only has 6 adjustments to make. Really basic, easy to understand layout. Third plugin that is really useful in FL Studio is Maximus. Only reason I say that is because FL Studio doesn't come with a de-esser, but if you come in Maximus to the presets, you can choose de-esser, narrowband, and you actually have yourself a de-esser. All you need to do is consolidate your siblings frequencies and come over to the threshold and get those frequencies taken care of. So I really like using this a lot, but I still would suggest you go out and buy a de-esser if you don't already have one. Next, Fruity Reverb 2. This is a pretty nice reverb. We have a few different types of adjustments in order for us to craft the type of reverb that we want. Over here we have high cut and low cut. This is specifically for, like, cutting off those high end and low end frequencies in order to get a more balanced sounding reverb. Sometimes if I don't really like the frequencies that I'm getting from my reverb, I may just place it on a separate track and put an EQ on there and boost out a little bit of frequencies in order to make my reverb shine through the mix. Next thing is Fruity Delay. Fruity Delay is really nice because, just like how I said earlier, a lot of these plugins are just really easy to use. Everything is just laid out for you right here. Only thing you need to worry about on this delay is the feedback, the frequency cutting, the time, and maybe the offsetting, and that's it. That's normally all you'll have to worry about. So what do I think about Fruity VSTs? I definitely feel like if you learn how to incorporate a lot of these VSTs in the proper way, you can definitely get a professional sounding mix. Now, not all of these VSTs are free. There is some VSTs where you can only get a trial version. For instance, like the Pitcher. This is actually a pitch corrector, but it's the trial version, so there's some aspects of this plugin that you can't use. Another really good plugin a lot of people hate on is the Sound Godizer. Now, Sound Godizer is a mixture of a limiter, bit of saturation, compression, and a few different other things. But if you throw a little bit of Sound Godizer on either your master track sometimes or your vocal bus, it can normally make things sound a little bit better. Now, you may not want to use this version of the Sound Godizer just because you don't have as much control. Only thing you have to control what you're getting from the actual sound is this little knob right here, which a lot of people don't like, and that's honestly the main reason why Sound Godizer gets so much hate. But if you're looking to get a more detailed sound, all you need to do is just go to Maximus, go to presets, and right here you'll see a Sound Godizer preset A, B, C, and D, which is pretty much the exact same thing as over here with the actual Sound Godizer down here. Only in Maximus you can actually have a little bit more control over the sounds you're getting, and you can actually take some things away or boost some things up if you need to. So last thing I wanted to talk about with FL Studio is a little bit of the bad things I really experienced with it. So when using FL Studio, be prepared for things to crash very frequently. Like when I first bought FL Studio, I didn't realize what was going on, but after making about 4 or 5 songs, my computer started having trouble processing the information inside of FL Studio. And now 2 years later, I'm still experiencing that same problem, but probably to a bit of a higher degree, which I cannot lie, sometimes is extremely annoying. Like, there's literally been some times where I can spend like 10 or 15 minutes just trying to open up a song. Another thing is CPU inside FL Studio. So if you start to experience CPU overload So if you start to experience this while you're using FL Studio, another bad thing about using FL Studio is CPU overload. Now, if your CPU overloads when you're trying to do playback on a song, you won't be able to listen to your song until you get that CPU problem taken care of, because it will literally keep ticking and tackling and crackling, and you pretty much won't be able to hear anything that's going on in your song, which can be extremely annoying sometimes. And sometimes it can feel like you've done every single possible thing that you could possibly do, and the problem is still not resolved, which is also super annoying. And now I've gotten to the point where this happens very frequently. In order to tame CPU overload, I normally have to do a bunch of things that range from turning off the computer while I'm trying to listen to a song, closing out a bunch of different applications, deleting certain VSTs that I don't really need. But definitely when it comes to the closing stages of the mixing and mastering process, 9 times out of 10, I will experience some type of CPU overload that I'll have to get addressed. So if you were to ask me, should I buy FL Studio or no, I probably say it depends on what you're getting from the digital audio workstation you're using right now and what FL Studio offers. Now, if you're already using an industry standard digital audio workstation, like FL Studio, but not FL Studio like Ableton or like Logic or something like that, I wouldn't really see a point in trying to use Fruity unless you really enjoy specific sounds from some of the VSTs inside Fruity that you want to put on a song. Then I say maybe it'll be nice to use. But if you're a beginner, I think that buying FL Studio would be a pretty good choice for you, mainly just because everything is pretty easy to start to understand. But alright everyone, that is my little breakdown on FL Studio and whether you should buy it or not. Now if you're a beginner wondering how to mix your vocals with the stock VSTs inside FL Studio, make sure you hit the link in my description so I can give you a detailed step-by-step guide that I can ensure will 5 times the speed in which you progress. But I hope you got a lot of value out of this video everyone. If you did, make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe. I'll catch you all in the next one.